Welcome, fans, to episode 88 of Rangers Ed. This is your host, Cousin Ed, with my co-hosts, Coach Ed and Little Ed. Coach Ed's got the giggles right now. And
it's gonna be a fun episode.
Yeah, our producer, Mikey. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, fellas?
You got the plain white wall behind you. Looks like a green screen. No Lundqvist banner tonight.
No, they came down and Aaron bought some cool picture frames that are gonna go up behind me. So I lost the battle.
He lost the one banner behind you.
I lost the battle.
Well, we'll have the hooks. We'll be able. We have to just
swap
fix your studio like Hockey Night in New York does.
Mike, just let me know if you need me to talk to my daughter, Mike.
Yeah, so we got a lot going on. First, we got another, I guess, honorary Fan of the Week award we're going to give to Tennessee Meg for a second batch of cookies she sent
Unbelievable.
us.
I got some of them. Yeah, I got some of them right here by my my winter skating rink. I know Christmas is over, but I figured you don't just skate for Christmas. But Meg made me a Zibanejad. This is made out of white chocolate, and then she painted everything on here.
Show the back.
Which is like, how am I gonna?
The white chocolate. Look at that. Oh man, it looks good.
You can't
how am I gonna eat this? There's no shot.
I know. Well, I ate mine because it melted
on.
The classic Rangers blue jersey. Head over to YouTube to see all these for sure. And then the logo, which is like flawless. It's insane.
Yeah,
and
it's
then,
really cool.
Yeah,
very talented.
Kind of Shesterkin. Well, I guess not technically Shesterkin, but close enough. And then Stanley Cup, a puck, crossed hockey sticks, the whole nine. Yeah, unbelievable.
I gotta open up that box.
They're awesome.
Another shout out
Meg.
to Tennessee Meg, yeah, for sure. Suitor's Sweet Treat. So head on over to Etsy and you can order your own. And Valentine's Day is coming up, so hop on over there.
Yeah, no, they're really, really well done. As soon as I got them, I sent a picture to Fio, and she goes, before I even said anything, she goes, I think you should eat those and not keep them. And I was like, yeah, I know. I'm just gonna like take a picture with it or something. You know,
I'm keeping mine for sure.
I know. She's like, don't keep those. They're gonna go bad over time. Eat them.
And the peanut
Tennessee Meg said they don't go bad for years.
I don't even know. I guess I would just put it up there.
Well, she has her shadow boxed, so I might have to look into doing that.
Well, I'm eating. I was eating them in the order of like least important. The Trocheck one she sent me was probably as well done as that Zibanejad, but it completely melted in my mailbox. So I ate that. It was delicious.
Yeah, unfortunately, Meg, you sent it to Miami, so it's gonna.
Yeah,
gotta throw some dry ice in the package
put an ice
next
pack
time.
in there.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's the only one that happened to. Oh no, the cake pop too. The little players on the cake pop. One of them, the face completely melted in. So I ate that one, and then I ate one of the skates, but I didn't touch the logos or anything. Showed the Rangers Ed podcast one she made. That one was cool.
Oh yeah.
Too.
I mean, she's got to be fan of the week if she's taking time while she's working to do this for us. So
yeah, check that out.
That's
Look
awesome.
at that.
That's great.
This must have taken her hours. We each got a package, so I mean, it's like the nicest thing ever. So thank you very much, Meg. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna try and sneak in some Valentine's Day orders for you to try and return the favor without a doubt.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's awesome. And we also we had, was it this week? You guys were on Hockey Night in New York, right?
Yeah. Well, me and Mikey went over to the studio to check it out, kind of learn from them. I mean, they've been doing this for longer than we have, and they're actually like in a studio and they have all the fancy machines and stuff. So we just wanted to like check it out and also get our hats back because they had to wear our hats on their last episode. So avoid them throwing them out, we decided to go pick them up instead. And yeah, they put us on the spot while we were there and had us sit on their couch, and they brought us in and out of their episode. And
somehow these guys snuck into the studio tonight, and we got Ed and Mike over there on the couch hanging out. How you doing, boys?
How we doing, Sean?
Doing great.
You know, you have a knack for putting me on the spot. You know, last time you put me on the spot with the bet, we came out on top with that one. Now we come in friendly, and you put us on the spot trying to chirp us on your couch. So.
Well, listen, it's a big displeasure to have you. Hate that you're here, but you're here on the couch, so I mean, I guess we got to roll with it.
Let's do it.
I'm glad those hats are on your heads.
Yeah.
and not ours. But
To where they belong.
pleasure to have you. We'll get you guys involved a little bit later. Thanks a lot for hanging out.
Absolutely.
If you guys have any questions for these two,
Yeah, folks in the chat,
keep 'em classy, but
keep
also-
them classy.
Yeah.
But when we hit questions brewing later, if you have any questions for our Ranger fan frenemies over there, you can chime in, or you can ignore them completely. That's fine too. That doesn't bother us at all. But they're gonna be hanging out with us, so really appreciate them hanging out here.
It was a ton of fun, Mike. Talk about it. Like you said, it was kind of like surreal, like just being like in a studio. Like,
Yeah, that type of experience, you don't really, not like a normal person gets to see like the behind the scenes. You just see what you see on TV or whatever you watch online and stuff like that. But to actually see the process of how everything's done and like the setting up and like you said, the different equipment, it was awesome experience. And shout out to Sean. Thank you a lot for that. So
yeah,
both.
no, go ahead.
Well, I can't wait to get to that point.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got a lot of ideas that are affordable for now, so we definitely got some stuff and gonna improve the show a little bit. So look forward to that. And yeah, Sean, I can't thank you enough. I know I say you put us on the spot, but like we were planning on just picking up the hats, hanging out for a little bit and leaving. And yeah, we got to stay for the whole like 2 hours and we learned a lot. And shout out to Jay from Florid Media. He's got a nice little setup over there. Basically, like he just has like the studio and a bunch of different podcasts just go in and out and like rent it for the hour and stuff. And he's got all the stuff already set up for you. So you kind of just got to plug in your own stuff and everything's good to go. So yeah, shout out to him. That was really cool. And he's got a nice little setup. Like I could have hung out there for hours, right, Mike? Like he's got everything there. It's just like a cool little setup. He's got video games. He's got everything.
Got a nice little old school Atari game, yeah.
Yeah. So very cool.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. What an experience. I miss out on all that stuff, but it's all right. I'm glad that, that
Well,
you got that opportunity. It's pretty cool. When I come down though, if we're booking an hour of studio time, it might be a fun thing to do.
yeah. Jay said that we could definitely set something up. I told him we're not
Come
really
up.
there. Yeah, we're not really there yet financially to be able to do it full time, but he said he would do a test run for us and we could discuss it. So hey, you never know. But yeah, great times. So yeah, I know you said you're busy, but you got to book a trip and we can try and get some stuff going.
Yeah, that kid
Yes.
Sean's not bad for an Islander fan.
I'm definitely telling you
Good
said
kid.
that.
Yeah.
Nah, he's a great kid. Nice Chaminade boy too.
Yeah, he's a good kid. He's
I gave him one of the Chaminade hockey shirts you had in your basement. I found.
Oh,
It was
nice.
a size medium. I was like, I hope you fit into this medium. But,
That was a good idea.
That's all we had left. Yeah, I found it a couple weeks ago and I had it in my room and it was before we were going to see him. So I was like, yeah, good idea.
Sure. Kathy was happy about that. Get rid of that
Yeah.
stuff.
While we're on the
Nice t-shirt.
subject, I'm sporting my championship sweatshirt from the roller hockey season. We beat
Nice.
Sean's team. We beat Sean's team in the semifinals, so that's kind of a segue. So we got sport time hockey on the front, champions on the butt.
Nice.
So
Tramp
yeah,
stamp.
we were surprised that we got them. They did pretty good this year. So shout out to Eric at Sport Time.
Nice. Really cool. And yeah, we got an interview this episode too. We're bringing on Neil Villapiano from Sate of Mind in a few. So that'll be fun. Talk about the game
Absolutely.
over the weekend. And Rangers and Devils will play 3 times this year. So we'll check in with him and get some perspective on that. But before we go there, let's go to Jersey Numbers, sponsored by Oscar's Pro Stitch Hockey.
Our buddy Oscar, a huge Rangers fan himself, started his company by stitching his own blue shirts. Once he perfected his craft and started to fall in love with his work, the man started to grow. Oscar stitches every jersey with love and dedication to authenticity, which never disappoints. His talent is hard to find in any store out there. Are you like Cousin Ed? You have a lingering jersey curse that every player he gets a jersey of gets traded or injured and hurts the Rangers team? You want to change things up? You want to take an Eric Lindros jersey and make it a vintage Ken Hodge jersey in the late 70s? Got an old jersey collecting dust in your closet? Want to throw your name on the back and add a nice number of one of your favorite players? You can bring it back to life with a brand new kit at Oscar's Pro Stitch. So head on over to Oscar's Instagram at Oscars PSH. That's OSCARS PSH to check out the countless tarps he's already done and to place the order for his next one that possibly can post on Instagram and get ready to wear it to the next Ranger game or any event that you have coming up. Tell them the boys from Rangers Ed sent you and receive a special discount at Oscar's Pro Stitch Hockey. Go get them, Rangers.
Well, boys, it's episode 88. Really should be only one 88 to talk about, and that's Eric Lindros. But the Rangers have had two 88s. Ken Hodge, coach,
Wow.
1977,
Yeah.
78. Wasn't he part of like a horrible trade?
Well, he came. I don't know if he came with Esposito, but it was that same year when they were trying to. They did the Rick Middleton trade. They brought Esposito over, and that was the year they got all the double numbers. That's where I believe it all started.
I remember him being
JD
the
had
answer.
00 and Espo and Hodge because we already had an 8. Steve Vickers was 8. Gilbert was 7.
No, I
So
remember he was like the answer to a trivia question that was like almost as bad as Nolan Ryan for Gosi.
And for Gozy, I don't remember who they traded Hodge for.
It
It had to have something to do with
was
Brad
Rick
Park.
Middleton. It was Rick
Middleton?
Middleton for Ken Hodge. Yeah.
So when did who did Brad Park go for? Espo?
Park and Rattel for Espo.
For Espo. That's devastating, man, as a Ranger fan back then. I mean, I didn't feel it because I was really young during the early 70s, but that was big.
I mean, that's 2 star players for one. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. But Hodge only played 2 seasons with the Rangers. He had like 23 goals.
Well, it was the tail end of his career. He was more, I don't think he had any kind of a scoring prowess. He was more like the Clark Gillies.
He had a 50-goal season, one.
Right,
So
but he was more like the Clark Gillies of the Esposito line.
Yeah, well, Rick Middleton goes from the Rangers to the Bruins, plays 10 years after that, 40 goals, 44 goals, 51 goals, 49 goals, 47 goals, 100 points, 103, 90 points. What a terrible trade. Yeah, that's a bad trade. Anyway, so Ken Hodge and Eric Lindros, the only 88s in Rangers history. Probably, I don't think there'll be another 88 for a while. But anyway, all right. So prior to the last episode, 21, 12, and 6. Since that, 2-0 and 1. The Rangers sit 23, 12, and 7, 53 points. They're in the Metro, 9th in the NHL. Just earlier today, the Rangers actually made a transaction. They claimed Jake Lecision off waivers from Vegas. He's in the first year of a 3-year deal, makes $766,667 on the AAV on the cap hit. 23-year-old center. Last year in the AHL, he had 27 points in 34 games. He's played 22 games this year, -7 with no points. So not really great, but probably has to do a little bit with usage. Right off the bat, before we get into the games, Little Ed, you think that has anything to do with the Kreider and Gauthier injuries yesterday?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, losing those types of players is never a good thing, obviously. I mean, Kreider's on the first line, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the speed and like the type of game that they bring as far as like a forecheck heavy game. Kreider's been definitely stepping up lately as far as that goes, creating more space. I think we talked about it where Coach had highlighted it last episode, where he's creating a lot more space for other teammates. And without a big body or a big presence out there, it's a much different thing. And Gauthier is the same thing on the fourth line. I mean, he's been playing real well.
I'd like to go on and justify what I said last episode, because on the pregame versus the Wild last night, they talked about that extensively, what Kreider brings as far as being in front of the net and creating havoc for the other team without even touching the puck. I don't know if anybody else saw that, but it was a nice little segment.
No, I did. I didn't, but I saw in the post game after the injury, they said pretty much they're going to have to replace that. So you did talk about it in the post game. I didn't see the pregame. And they're going to have to replace that on the power play. Who's going to take that spot? And Valley proposed Kakko, I guess, because he's a big body and he can do that job best. Probably better than Hedel or Laffy could in Valley's eyes. So we'll get to that in a second. But on this kid Lecision, I'm guessing he's the son of Curtis Lecision. I don't know how many Lecision families there are out there. I mean, it's a pretty random name. But if your last name's Lecision, I apologize. No offense, but it's a random name. Anyway, but yeah, I don't know if he's gonna get into any games or anything.
God forbid that he says something wrong and he might get sued. So
yeah, I gotta
he's gotta cover his ass.
Just backtrack a little, yeah. Anyway, I don't think he's gonna play. I think it's just a depth move for 2 injuries. Rydell is injured too. Gustav Rydell is injured, so we're really just left with Carpenter, and team's already put him in Hartford, so why not just get another body? So we'll see if he gets in any action. But also, interesting before we move on from it. He's from Vegas, right? That's where they got him. Gallant coached in Vegas. I'm wondering if they have any familiarity. I'm not sure. I'm sure we'll find out in the next week or two if that had anything to do with it. But hopefully, I'm going to hope not, because if the kid has 22 games, no points, and -7, and he's a Gallant favorite or something, he's going to end up playing with Panarin and Trocheck. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But all right. So the Rangers 2-0-1 in their last 16 games, 12-2-2, 26 out of a possible 32 points. That's a pretty good run. You know, when you go back a few episodes ago, the Rangers were sitting 11-10-5. And they had some tough games coming up on the schedule. We were a little bit worried, right? Now 12-2-2 in their last 16, and they sit third in the Metro, 2 behind the Devils, 4 behind Carolina for first place in the division, and 6 points ahead of the Islanders in a playoff position. We have a really tough division. What's your impression on this run? Is this more of what you expected this year? Do you think the team found itself? I mean, this all coincides with that Trouba temper tantrum against Chicago and the interview he gave. So you're going to give him credit. I mean, what's your impression on the Rangers 16-game run here at 12-2-2?
Coach, you asking me?
You are coach, yes.
Oh, I didn't hear you say that. I mean, of course, it has to coincide with that. That's when it changed. I was hoping that I kind of felt that they would have been so psyched after the playoffs they would have started like that. But again, I had said it from the get-go when the Devils were starting off streaky, that and a couple other teams, I'd rather peak middle end of season than, I mean, it doesn't hurt to start off well, don't get me wrong. Like the Bruins are unbelievable right now, but I would rather peak, if anything, middle end of season going into that playoff run, hopefully, and have everything in sync. So I'm going to, it's what I hoped for, but I thought it would come sooner.
Yeah, Little Ed, any thoughts on that? I mean, I can't entirely disagree with Coach there. We got technical difficulties on Little Ed's end. So the thing is this: there's 2 schools of thought here, right? So if you start off hot, you're right, Coach. Like you might fizzle out, and then you end up not winning the cup, right? But there is a benefit of starting out hot. It's you look at New Jersey, for example. They started off red hot. They've cooled off since, but they're firmly in a playoff position. Like for them to miss the playoffs, they would have to be sub 500, like significantly. So
yeah, I get it.
So you can kind of solidify your standings place and by starting off hot. But I agree, if you want to win a championship, which is the goal, should be the goal of every team, you want to peak in middle end of seasons. So it's good to see we're about halfway through or a little bit over. Little Ed, what do you think?
Yeah, I was trying to say before that I was just thinking yesterday that I feel a little bit more comfortable that the Rangers, I mean, obviously they crept their way back up after their streak since the Trouba helmet throw situation, but they have more wins in this span than they did in the whole season leading up to that point. So obviously it changed the course of the whole season. I kind of had a feeling it would. And Trouba definitely did his job as captain, and like I said, I think it's good that they're kind of in the middle of the pack right now. They're not too high, obviously not too low. They haven't really had like a really long losing streak, and they haven't had a really long winning streak, So I think kind of like keeping at that even keel right now is a good thing. And I think towards the end, they're going to be battling for that top spot in the Metro. I think they're going to catch fire coming up soon.
And that right now in the streak, that this, what'd you say, it was 12 games or 14 games? They've been playing some tough competition and playing really well. So that's to me, the bigger test.
Even the games that they're losing by 1 or 2 goals at the most.
Or in a shootout.
Goal and empty netter. They're getting the point in the overtime. Exactly. So you can't be mad about that. I mean, I know they lost to Pittsburgh, to Washington, but these are good teams. But as long as they're not getting blown out. I guess the Washington game was a little ugly, but
a little interesting sidebar about Trouba being named captain. I was just watching an interview with the kid Suzuki on Montreal, which being named captain on that team is probably a larger effect on a player out of anybody, because their media is probably number 1 in the league as far as pressure. And he had Shea Weber to lean on to get advice from, and so on. And Trouba we had no captain before Trouba for, since he was on the team. So we had no one to say, how should I do this? But he wasn't captain in Winnipeg, so he had no little mentor like person to go to, maybe other than Chris Drury if he wanted to, I guess. But I thought that was pretty interesting that he had nobody to actually talk to about it.
Yeah, no one really passed him the torch, but
yeah,
I mean, I guess Chris Drury is a pretty good mentor in that aspect. So
I think that with Truba giving that speech, I mean, that kind of solidified him. And I said it when it happened that it could be that kind of a moment, and it looks like it is. I'm pretty confident where the team is going forward, but there's still a little bit Jekyll and Hyde, So, for example, in these 3 games, they blow a 2-0 lead, 1 lead against the Devils, and then they play Minnesota and they come back from a 2-0 deficit and a 3-2 deficit, and they win that game. So a little bit Jekyll and Hyde. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's the goaltending game to game or that's just how it goes. I guess there's a lot of parity in this league, and the teams are all pretty evenly matched. So
yeah, I mean, other than Boston, everybody's doing that in the league. You watch highlights and games are going back and forth. There's no one really running away with games for the most part. I mean, it happens here and there, but no team other than Boston is just like dominating every game and playing with that kind of confidence on every period.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even entirely sold on Boston, honestly. I mean, I know they're 32-4 or whatever. But we'll see. Let's just see where they're at the end of the season. I don't know. I mean, they've gotten some really good goaltending. Is that going to hold up? Their goal differential is 68 right now. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's not going to end there. It's just not.
I mean, to me, it seems like they're being set up to be ousted in the first round.
Yeah, and they got an older team.
Sorry, Mikey.
You can look at that as them being
Mikey
veterans or whatever and knowing how to win, but they're an older team. They're going to wear down over the season a lot faster than a team like the Rangers are going to.
I don't know. I give up on predicting because I predicted they wouldn't even be close.
I think we all said that they would miss the playoffs.
Yeah, but our predictions
running away with it.
No, but our predictions were premised on a lot of guys being out, and they weren't out. I mean, Marchand came back pretty early. Bergeron came back,
almost immediately.
Yeah, so I mean, they had a lot of injuries. It looked like for 2-3 months of the season they were going to be missing key guys, and they all came back quick. So I think that's a little unfair. But Coach, you're right. I mean, we lost to Washington and Pittsburgh, and we lost in overtime to Tampa and New Jersey. But other than that, I mean, we've beaten Toronto, Colorado, the Islanders, Vegas, Carolina, Florida, Minnesota. These are good teams. So it's an impressive run, and hopefully it keeps going. So I want to talk quick about the Canadiens game so we don't get stuck in that recency bias that we talked about last episode where we're so focused on what just happened. But in the Canadiens game, Jarl Halak gets to start. He used to be on the Habs, right? He gets to start his first one in a while, it felt like, and he played really, really well. I mean, he only faced 18 shots, 17 saves, but he made some really big saves. And I just wanted to give him a shout out. I mean, look, that's what you got to have that from the backup. He's got to be able to plug him in against Montreal, give Igor that extra day off. I mean, the fact that we're just like ho-hum about it, means that he's doing his job, right? Coach is like one of those bottom pairing defensemen. If we're talking about Ben Harper, if we're sitting there talking about him, then clearly there's a problem. If we're not talking about him, then he's doing his job. So I feel the same thing about Halak.
Of course. I mean, you want to not even mention him. You want to just say things are going good, and not that you don't want to mention him, but you don't want to have him being a topic of discussion in losses constantly. And he seems to have come out of that. I mean, Montreal's a bottom team in the league, but still they had a lot of good quality scoring chances there where just as easily we could have been saying, Jesus, they lost to Montreal. Come on, So he had to make those big saves in certain situations, gave the Rangers a chance to get that shorty by Kreider and open things up a little bit. It was an even game in the first period. Wasn't it 0-0? Where it could have easily been 2-0 Montreal or something. It could have been leaning towards a disaster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be the first one to admit. I remember texting you guys saying I think it's time to do something about the backup goalie situation or whatever, but Halak's definitely turned it around. He got the Broadway hat a few times from his teammates. So obviously they recognize the importance of it as well. So
he seems to have a good attitude when he's not playing also. as opposed to in the beginning
Right.
when he was kind of standoffish with Shesterkin. But now when you see them win, he's going right up to Shesterkin. They have a little bit of a better attitude, maybe because he's playing better, just for himself, because he's probably so competitive. I'm not saying he didn't like Shesterkin or whatever, but he was probably annoyed with himself, like you had talked about a couple of times. At that level, you want to be the best you can be, and he knew he wasn't doing it, so he's got to be feeling better.
He was in a big rut. All right, we just got joined by our guest, Neil Villapiano from Devil's State of Mind. What's up, Neil?
I'm doing pretty darn good, honestly, considering what has happened the last 2 games to pull off 2 multi-goal comebacks against 2 Metropolitan Division foes, including your lovely team on Saturday.
It's so hard to be mad.
Take it easy, Neil.
So hard to be mad at you, Neil. It's just
fair
such a
enough.
happy guy. Just such
Neil,
a happy guy.
Neil, what does your last name mean? Piano Village?
It means it basically means like a Roman villa, like a small house and piano. That's literally what it means.
Piano is a town?
No, not a town. It's just literally like the instrument. Like it's literally like a piano house. That's really what it like translates to, basically.
Gotcha.
So if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm doing really good. Honestly, considering where the Devils are at this point in the season, exactly halfway through the year, I couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, really. I mean, this team has exceeded a lot of expectations, and now it's about really getting down to business in these final 41 games and trying to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think the Devils. I wanted to ask you about this. So the comeback that you mentioned in these 2 games against the Hurricanes and the Rangers. That's kind of been a theme for them the whole season. They got a team with a ton of firepower and speed, and they're relentless. And it's really frustrating watching a bunch of young kids out there fast and hungry for the puck, and it's difficult, So I was just wondering, look, did you really expect to get the goaltending you're getting this year going into the season?
I think we were hopeful that we were going to get decent goaltending. As far as the goaltending that VTech has played up until this point in the year, no, I didn't, because he was always decent in Washington, but never at this level. So there was a lot of, we were clearly taking a risk, but it was the risk that we had to take because there weren't very many options for us to really go after anybody that could help us. And VTech ended up being the right guy at the right time. And he has really, really taken control of that number 1 spot, of that starting job. He feeds off of the rest of the team playing well, especially during that 13-game winning streak. The defense was sharp. The offense was rolling. All of it just gave him the confidence that he needed. And now he's showcasing that he can be a number 1 goaltender, and he's very reliable. If you look at the game against Carolina on this past Tuesday, we were getting outplayed for the first 39 minutes of action. And if it wasn't for VTech making a boatload of saves, even in that point when we were still down 3-1, we don't win that game. We don't make that comeback. The same thing can be said for the game against the Rangers on Saturday. He doesn't make some big time saves. We don't win that game, period.
Yep.
So for VTech to be as good as he's been so far this year has been tremendous. And no, we're not asking him to be a Vezina Trophy winner or anything like that. We're asking him to just be a solid goaltender with an above 900 save percentage. And that's what he has given us up until this point. And it's been tremendous.
So that you make a couple of points there. I mean, so the reason I asked that question is if you're coming back so often in games, usually what it means is you have terrible starts to the game, or the goalie lets in some bad goals early. But what Vanacek seems to do really well is lock it down after it's 2-0 or even 3-0 or 3-1 down. He locks down the game. Like he gets in his zone and he locks it down and enables the Devils to come back. And he did that against the Rangers over the weekend.
Now, my question
that's absolutely correct. Yep.
My question is, do you think that's sustainable in a 7-game series in the playoffs where it's going to be more physical and the defense has to tighten up? You're telling me in the beginning of the season they were strong defensively, but if they're letting up goals early in a playoff series, I don't know if that's going to hold up. I mean, they got a lot more to learn.
See, this is why I appreciate Coach Ed, because he asks the really hard-hitting questions. This is very important for me. I think it's a very fair question to ask as far as can this be sustainable? First and foremost, I mean, prior to the 13-game winning streak ending, the Devils' problem was the fact that they would get off to bad starts, give up a goal or two, and put themselves behind the 8 ball before they could really get themselves going. It's still kind of an issue up until this point. This team is still, at the end of the day, we're the third youngest team in the NHL, and we're still learning how to try to win games and obviously get off to better starts. Some games we have, some games we haven't. We're average, more often than not, we're ending up out shooting and in some degrees outplaying our opponent. And we're just not getting what we need. And that is ultimately 8+ opportunities to score and ultimately finishing. But in terms of just the situation of giving up, goals like that, bang, bang, in those type of situations, no, it's not sustainable in terms of, finding a way to win these games coming back, especially like you mentioned, Coach, in the playoffs when goal scoring is going to come a lot less. Everything's going to be tighter. Everything's going to be more physical, this, that, and the other thing. A lot of us are obviously not thinking about that, at least in the moment, because again, at the end of the day, for Devils fans and everybody who covers this team, we're focusing on this team just trying to get into the playoffs. But in terms of once they get in, yeah, that does become an absolute, that does become a problem. And I think that's where we're hoping.
You have to know that Lindy Ruff and any coach at this point that they're not, I'm not going to say locked as a playoff position, but they have to start thinking we have to get this team ready physically for the playoffs. They have to start getting in that mode. I mean, beating Carolina is definitely a good test for that.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And I think that winning a game like against, Carolina, who, yeah, granted,
and the Rangers, obviously.
And the Rangers as well. I mean, you have to, Lindy Ruff mentioned this earlier in the year, you have to win these type of games if you want to get in the playoffs and you want to compete. You have to win these games. And the Devils of years past have not been able to compete and or win these games. Now that they're starting to do it more, and obviously on a more consistent basis, is important for a young team learning more and more how to win and how to be successful. And so it is a process. We are still not fully healthy. That's not really an excuse at all. And clearly we still have issues with Mackenzie Blackwood as the backup goaltender. I would not be surprised. I mentioned this on my podcast, and I've talked to fans a lot about this. Devils fans should not expect the Devils to go swing for a home run trade to get a guy like, Timo Meier or Patrick Kane. If they're going to do anything, they're going to get at least one or two big body guys like they did in 17-18 when they got Pat Maroon and when they made the trade to get Michael Grabner, just to kind of bring in a little bit more veteran, poise and things like that. That's the type of trades that I would see Fitzgerald wanting to make to prepare this team to getting into the playoffs and then ultimately going up against physical teams, because it's going to get even more physical for a young team like the Devils once the playoffs actually begin.
Do you think I don't mean to ask another question of jumping Eddie and Ed, but do you think that they have the defense to do that? Or I would personally think they need to get more of a shutdown defenseman.
I would say that at full strength, the Devils do have a very, very good defense. I think we have a very deep defense. Prior to guys getting hurt, like we don't have John Marino right now. And John Marino was by far our best defensive defenseman. He would go out there and lock down a lot of our opponent's top players. He was doing a lot of really great work until he got hurt. Dougie Hamilton, offensively, tremendous. Defensively, drives me absolutely up the freaking wall because he is brutal. Even last night against Carolina, defensively, brutal.
I saw the highlights, yeah.
I know. Jonas Siegenthaler has been very, very good defensively. Ryan Graves being physical on the back end is important. All these things. Damon Severson, again, just like Dougie Hamilton, really solid offensively. Defensively, there's still so much to be desired. So in terms of just defense overall, I think when this team is at full strength, I think the defense is very, very good and can be very locked down. But in terms of like where we are right now, there's some holes and they're getting exposed. And you're seeing that in these last couple of games. Even the game against the Rangers. I mean, in the second goal, Gauthier scores. That's just poor defense, in my opinion. That's just poor defense by the Devils to not get back and not allow that. And those are kind of the holes that I'm talking about.
I mean, that Gauthier goal was just a sheer size and skill and speed play by Gauthier. I mean, I don't even blame your defense for that. I mean, that's just a great play. And
I'm not discrediting Gauthier. I mean, it was a tremendous goal. Do not get me wrong. I'm just saying from the Devils' perspective, just a bad defensive play was like that shouldn't have happened, but still a good goal nonetheless.
Let me say this about your defense. You said John Marino is your best defensive defenseman.
Mhm.
Now, Rangers fans are very familiar with John Marino because we just played Pittsburgh in the playoffs last
Right.
year, and he got bullied
Mhm.
badly. Bullied
in the
badly.
playoffs.
Mhm.
In the playoffs.
This
He
is
looked
true,
hurt.
yes.
He was knocked out, hurt, banging him on forecheck. He was shying away, turning the puck. He was just throwing the puck away pretty much. He didn't want to get
Mhm.
hit. So, look, the Rangers, if the Rangers are going to bully John Marino, you can expect any team that plays them are going to do that. I think what coach is trying to say is you guys need a veteran defense. You got a very young, talented defense group. I agree.
Correct.
But you need a veteran defender with some size
Yeah.
on the back end. So
And that's what the Devils were hoping for when we
Maybe they'll go
signed.
after Jack Johnson.
I mean,
not a veteran as in just like an old guy, like a
Yeah, no,
quality
I mean,
player who's
again,
older.
it was that was sort of the
Won a
idea
cup
as
last
to
year.
why they went after Brendan Smith in the offseason. But honestly, he has been he's not good. Let me put it that way. He's just
He's adequate. He fills in.
he's just there as
He's
far.
a coach
but,
Ed favorite. So
He's a locker room guy.
Yeah, he is a locker room guy. That the guys in the locker room really respect him and appreciate what he brings in the locker room. But in terms of what you guys were saying before about just the fact of getting another veteran like defensive, that's kind of again what I'm leaning towards when it comes to what Fitzgerald might do in terms of the trade deadline, in terms of getting bigger, getting a little bit more physical, and just having somebody, not necessarily just a forward, because we certainly do need some more size in the forward group, but also in the back end as well. And I think if we can swing a trade or two to get some more physical players like that, like you were just mentioning, and also just guys who could be a little bit more dependable in the back end, I think would go a long way.
Ed, what do you have for him? Because I got another question.
Yeah, if I can get a word in here between all you guys or amongst all you guys. Yeah, I mean, we were on the subject of like the physicality, and I mean, I know I asked you this in our rivalry tour episode over the summer.
Mhm.
What do you think about like Jack Hughes holding up with his past injuries, shoulder injuries, getting hit more in the playoffs, and definitely a little more bump and grind, everywhere, because he's also very effective around or around the net and behind the net. And in the playoffs, that's time and space isn't really there.
No, it's a good point. And I think that Jack Hughes is just been smarter when it comes to the plays that he makes. He's not just going right into the corner and just exposing himself to getting absolutely mollywopped by whoever's in there. Although he does get still hit big time. He got hit against Carolina in the last game. He has definitely become a lot tougher. He might really honestly be dealing with something and we just don't know about it. But at the end of the day, when it comes to just him sustaining it, I mean, he's played through the first 41 games of the year. He has improved in terms of, gaining strength and everything. I mean, nobody's really asked him in terms of like, what did he do during the offseason to improve? I know that was something that we talked about during the offseason about that. It is definitely something you think about as the season goes along. And certainly once you get into the playoffs, because of the physicality, of the lack of space. Jack Hughes has had a lot of space to do a lot of different things in a lot of games. It's not going to be that way consistently in the playoffs unless you just are
and
just
towards the
having
end of the
so
season.
much luck. Yeah, exactly. Or towards the end of the season. So again, it's kind of one of those things where you're saying to yourself, they got a good thing going right now. And the question is, how is Lindy Ruff preparing this team, like in terms of practice? Are we looking at it just game by game? Are we trying to learn stuff as we're going along about, what we have to do? Because clearly when we play teams that play more of a physical style, like when we played Philadelphia, we get exposed a lot more, especially if the offense isn't rolling. We just get exposed on both sides of the ice. So Jack Hughes has been nothing but tremendous since the season started. And he has certainly developed himself into a leader both on and off the ice at this point. He has so far, knock on wood, has avoided anything major in terms of getting hit or injured or anything like that. But it is still definitely something to keep in the back of your mind if you're a Devils fan when you watch these games and you see him potentially get rocked. Because it's going to happen. It's going to happen again. It's just a matter of when and how and all the circumstances involved.
Well, let's see if Jacob Trouba can catch him in round one.
It's an interesting.
He's tough to catch. He's tough to catch. But we'll
I
see.
saw an interesting segment about him, about how smart he is as a player, and that how he has learned what to do in the NHL, and that's why he's avoiding these plays in certain areas when he doesn't need to be in that area, I thought it was very interesting that he's so cerebral that it goes unnoticed. His skill is so good, people don't realize how much he studies the game and he's learning what to do and how to make himself better. It's kind of like on a Sidney Crosby level where he just learns how to do certain things when you need to do them.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, and again, there's other guys like that. They were talking about it before about, how have the Devils' top guys stayed healthy up until this point, and that is because a lot of guys have just grown up. They're wiser. They're more understanding of how the NHL game works. They know that there's certain areas that they can't go into because they're just going to get destroyed. And it's also about just being a little bit more nimble and being able to, not necessarily always have to go into the corner, because at the end of the day, that's a prime position for guys like a Jacob Trouba, like a bunch of physical players that are going to go after these guys. Because a lot of teams look at the Devils and say, you slow down their core guys, it's a done deal.
All this being said, Austin Matthews is hurt tonight, and they were talking about how they have a bunch more superstars to get away with it.
Right.
If Hughes goes down, what's your feeling on that team?
The feeling that goes into it is basically the next man up mentality at that point, because the Devils.
I get the next man mentality. I'm asking you, do you think they're capable of filling those shoes, 100-point player?
I think that it would be definitely a struggle. There's no question about that. I think that it would definitely be one of those, I don't want to say deflating situations, but it would be one of those things where it would take the Devils some time to, especially if it's an injury that puts him out for a period of time. It's one of those things that can be, that could really, really change the season as a whole. And if you asked me this question in November, I would feel a lot more confident about, Nico and Bratt and all these other guys and the depth that we had, playing well. But now that we're at this point in the season and not everybody is really contributing on a consistent basis other than Jack Hughes, it is definitely more of a concern, because you feel like, and it's understandable looking from the outside looking in, that this really is like a one-man type of team. That's why winning last night against Carolina with Jack Hughes not even registering a point and it being our third and fourth line guys is so important, because to win games like that without your best players having to do anything or doing very little is important. But certainly if Jack Hughes was out for any length of time, which you've seen before last year with how much he's missed in the lineup, and the fact that he's on pace, at least right now, to potentially reach 100 points, it would be very difficult for this team to respond in the positive way and try to keep up the pace.
You said that Hughes developed into like a leader off the ice. I'm a little curious about this, because I don't really have that perception. I mean, I pay attention to Hughes. He's kind of comes off like a spoiled kid. He's been hockey royalty since he was like 15 years old. Everyone knew he was going to be a top pick, and he's dominated pretty much every level he's been at. And he gets interviewed after the Ranger game, and one of the reporters in the locker room says, "So, did you if the Rangers won this, gives a big win, if the Rangers won this game, that they would have passed you in the standings?" And his response was flatly, "No, I didn't know that." And like, yeah, I get that's a stupid question. Like, it's obviously the team knows that. The Devils are aware that they're playing an opponent that's 1 point behind.
I know who asked the question, and it was definitely not the greatest question to ask at that time.
No, it's a dumb question. There's no question, but he didn't handle it, like a leader off the ice would have been like, yeah, I know it's a big win. And just move on. Like, he kind of was like a jerk to the reporter. He has that kind of that's the impression he gives off, and I know the league is very happy with the young players like him and Zegras that are flashy.
Right.
He's got a lot of talent. Right now he's in the Hart Trophy conversation. There's no question that he's up there. And unfortunately, I just think that he's a devil. But so what are you seeing off the ice that he's becoming a leader? Because as an outsider, not someone following him daily, I don't see it.
So I think first and foremost, again, talking about looking from the outside looking in, definitely can understand where people are coming from with how Jack Hughes, at least, in public seems to, carry himself. It seems like he's a very cocky player, thinks that he's, above a lot of things. But at the end of the day, Jack Hughes has gone through a lot of humbling moments up until this point in his career, because, his first year, his rookie year, if we all remember, the dude had 18 points. And I don't think he had ever scored a total of 18 points in a season in his entire life. And then you had the COVID shortened season where, again, he got off to a good start and then he really just couldn't get it rolling. Last year, he really showed flashes of finally taking that next step. And then he started dealing with several injuries. At this point now, he has gone through a lot of losing, a lot of negativity from a lot of, different people within, the fan base, people outside the fan base. And I think that now that Jack Hughes finally has everything kind of together. I'm not saying that he's in the prime of his career because the kid is only 21 years of age. We have to remind ourselves that he is incredibly young even now. I mean, he's 4 years younger than I am, to be quite frank with you. That's how young Jack Hughes is.
That's it.
I know, right? That's literally it. I know it's incredible. But when I look at Jack Hughes, and again, I totally get that a lot of people were not thrilled about his response to that question about did he know that? Again, of course he knew the significance of everything, but I think for him, he definitely didn't handle that situation all that great. But in terms of just being a leader off the ice, this team feels very, very confident in him, not just as a tremendous player on the ice, because clearly when he goes, the rest of the team goes. There's no doubt about that. He's on his game, the rest of the team follows suit.
Yeah, but why? Why off the ice?
On the ice or in the locker room?
No, in the locker room.
Oh,
on the ice, I get it. He's a great player.
In the locker room, because, and this is again based off of, Nico Hischier talking about him and Damon Severson and different guys, especially guys who have been there longer than he has, is that in many ways, he's much more vocal. He's much more demanding of a lot of players. He's much more understanding. And you can see it even when you watch games just on the ice, how much he's talking to everybody on the team saying, trying to figure things out. He's constantly talking to Lindy Ruff. He's constantly talking to Andrew Burnett. He's doing all of these things and he's carrying himself a lot more. He's much more involved in the community. He's much more involved in just a lot of different things because he recognizes the superstar talent that he is, but he also understands that right now the Devils are still not taken completely seriously by the entire NHL. There are still a lot of people out there that say, yeah, well, it's the Devils. Like he's trying to change that perception as long as the rest of the other guys. And
I got to believe he's
like
probably...
Keith Yandel.
I'm sorry?
Like Keith Yandel said they're not even going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I mean, Keith Yandel definitely played for the Rangers at one point, and he had a lot of success against the Devils in his career. So why wouldn't he think that way? I mean, Paul Bissonnette continuously thinks we're not making the playoffs, and we're 41 games into the season. So
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you about that.
I don't have a problem with him answering that question. I'd be sick and tired of these guys thinking they know more than you, and it's got to be frustrating. So he's probably,
it's incredibly frustrating.
To me, that shows a little personality. I don't think he did it in a horrible way, but he got his point. Like, of course, he wanted to probably say, of course we know what's going on. I don't need to be asked that question.
It was, again, there was a situation earlier this year, to use another example, of like Eric Halak has been criticized a lot recently for the fact that he has barely scored any goals. And they kept asking him for weeks about, when is it going to come? When is it going to come? And eventually he kind of snapped on a report and said, I don't know, you guys seem to have all the answers to what's going on. So
it's got to be frustrating as a player.
It is frustrating. And there was a situation, and this kind of became very public when the Devils were in Montreal earlier this year. And I think it was right after Keith Yandel said that we were not going to make the playoffs. And at the time the Devils were on, I think at that point, 8 or 9 game heater, as Jack Hughes put it, and he kind of didn't know how to answer the question of, like, do you still feel that this team, struggles a lot? And he kind of looked at the reporter like with a blank stare and said, I mean, we're on a 9 game heater. I'd say we're doing pretty good.
The reality is whether or not, Coach, you think that wasn't a big deal. The players are paid based on how much money the league makes. That's how they get paid, right? And the league makes more money when there's more media, when there's coverage, when there's interviews.
Right. I get it, but he's allowed to be a little frustrated. He can't do every interview perfect, and
I don't think that's what a leader would do. That's all.
He shows personality. I could see Trouba doing that.
No, Trouba answers every question. Look at his interviews.
I know,
he sits there and answers every single question.
Let him get to a point of frustration where he's asked the same question 10 games in a row, and he's going to snap a little bit.
And you have to understand
have a little bit of an issue.
The other thing
Maybe.
just to understand as well is that this is the most media that a lot of these Devils players have ever experienced dealing with on a consistent basis.
Right. He's
Because
got to
now
learn.
that
Good
they're
point as
much
well.
more in the news and everything like that, there's more reporters, there's more people asking questions, there's more interviews to be done. I mean, all these different things. Emily Kaplan of ESPN just posted a video talking about the Devils rebuild at this point and interviewing guys like Nico, Jack, Lindy Ruff, guys like that. And you could see Jack is just tired of being asked the same questions about when is this team going to be taken seriously? When is, in his mind, he kind of feels like, how many more games do we have to win? How many more records do we have to break, so to speak, before people start saying that? And
That's
that's where I
40
think,
games, Jack. Take it easy. You
well,
didn't even
this
make the
is the thing.
playoffs yet.
Let me put it and that's a good point, Ed, because here's why. The Devils still haven't made the playoffs. Like they haven't done anything up until this point. If you really think about it, they haven't done anything. They still have 41 games to go. Nobody's clinched the playoffs yet. Boston is on an incredible historic run right now. They haven't clinched the playoff spot yet. So, like, there's still a lot of hockey left to play. But I lean more towards, again, what Coach was saying about how it definitely is frustrating that you get a lot of time these reporters ask a lot of the same questions over and over again. But in terms of Jack Hughes, it's not necessarily cockiness, it's more confidence from him. That's what you're really seeing. And I understand that it can rub people the wrong way, but we also don't have a lot of personalities in the NHL, even now, that feel that comfortable to make statements like that or make comments that might seem like I thought it was more of just all fun and games type thing, but I can understand from an outsider's perspective why some people might think that Jack Hughes is still not, fully mature. But again, the kid is
He's definitely still
21 years
learning.
of age.
Exactly.
He is still learning.
Well, before we let you go, Neil, we really appreciate it. We got to try kind of address the elephant in the room. Kind of like, I'm not really asking your question, but we just want you to want your opinion on Kakko and Lafreniere's development, I guess, versus Hughes. I mean, I know before the season, we were having a lot more high hopes that Laffy was going to break out the season. I know Kakko's doing a lot better. But I'm sure our fans or Ranger fans would be curious to hear maybe an outside perspective or a Devils fan perspective on that.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I'm not one of the guys that's constantly going to berate the Rangers about, Jack Hughes versus, Lafreniere or Jack Hughes versus Kakko or anything. I'm not going down that road. To me, it's unnecessary. It's two teams in two very different positions in terms of roster construction. First and foremost, the Rangers got Lafreniere, and I kept saying it to Rangers fans that, like, he doesn't have to come in and be the superstar. He can come in and just be a role guy on this team, and that's what he's done. Now, when he got benched recently, I think, what was it, last week he got benched for a game or whatever the case was, I was kind of like head scratching on that one. I was like, he hasn't played all that poorly. I mean, it's not like he's been awful by any means. But in terms of development, here's the thing that I will argue with. The Rangers, a good majority, not everybody, a good majority of their players are not necessarily homegrown guys. They've gotten a lot of guys in free agency, gotten a lot of guys in trade. They've done an excellent job of developing Igor Shesterkin. There is no question about that. And the defenseman as well. I mean, Keandre Miller is a phenomenal find, by the way. Phenomenal. And that goal that he scored, what was it, last night against Minnesota? It was just phenomenal. I love this kid. I loved him in college, and I think he's a really, really good player.
And Schneider too.
Schneider as well, which he's definitely stepped up his physical game this year, which I know a lot of Rangers fans were kind of critical of that last year in the playoffs, and even like during this, in the short part of the season, they were kind of getting on about that. But going back to Lafreniere and Kakko, here's the thing. Kakko is fine, okay? Like, he's not a bust. He's fine. He actually has improved. He's more physical. He's much more of a power forward. And he's just like Jack Hughes. Sometimes it just takes guys longer to develop. This year for Jack Hughes is the first time he's really consistently been getting everything going. It might take him a little bit longer. It might also be the coaching as well. I can't speak on a consistent basis what the lines are like and how, Gallant is coaching them. But Lindy Ruff, when he coaches Jack Hughes and all these young guys, he just wants them to go out there and be aggressive offensively and fire everything at the net. I see a lot with Gallant being a little bit more balanced of both offense and defense. And I think that there's roles that guys are still trying to find. And I think Lafreniere and Kakko, more Lafreniere than Kakko, is still trying to find their role long-term on this team.
Yes.
And there are two very young players on a much more veteran team with a team that literally just went to the conference finals last year. And, that kid line that they had was tremendous. I mean, that's where I felt like, okay, now they're going to start getting going. Like Lafreniere's got himself going. Kakko seems to have a little bit more confidence and things like that. But I just think
don't forget Kakko also was on the European ice surface. That was his big adjustment, in my opinion.
And that's a very good point. And I think that's another reason why people were so high on Kakko coming into the draft, because he had come from a adult league. He had played against a lot of, older players and things like that. But it's a very good point, Ed, because, Alexander Holtz, our top prospect, he's still getting adjusted to playing on North American ice. This is his first full year in the NHL, and he's still struggling to find a role on this team. So in terms of it, I would say this to Rangers fans, don't panic about Lafreniere and Kakko. If they find roles on this team where they're consistently doing their job and doing it well, whether that's being a power forward, checking line, a guy that could be consistent maybe on a power play or something like that, then that works. I understand the frustration of feeling like you didn't nail it on the head with these picks, but at the same time, they're still learning the NHL game. And Lafreniere, I mean, this kid has the ability to be very, very good. I just think sometimes he's not put in the right position to succeed. I don't see him all the time being in situations, I guess
Cousin Ed's happy.
like that one. It's like I'd like to see him on some situations with Zibanejad and with
we're going to
Kreider
see that. So we're
going to see that. Kreider just went down with a minor shoulder injury, so Laffy's getting bumped up.
Neil, one final question. I kind of need a yes or no answer on this. We're running out of time.
Sure.
If the Devils don't make the playoffs or get knocked out in the first round, say, Lindy Ruff here or not?
No. Even if we make the playoffs, he's not coming back after this year.
Okay.
I mean, we have Andrew Burnett as an associate coach for a reason.
I said yes or no. That's it.
The answer is no. He really is a coach. He really is a coach. Honestly,
telling me a depot.
Yeah,
that's
right.
All right, so you're going to say no? They have someone in the works that is ready to come in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Or Barry Trotz.
Awesome.
Or Barry Trotz.
He should be because he's not a good coach. Anyway, Coach Ed loves Lindy Ruff.
Yeah, thank you so
much.
much.
I love him. I think he does a good job. He did a good job in Buffalo developing players, and they moved on, and I think he's good at that. But we'll see.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Anyway, little Ed, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask Neil to plug all of his stuff and say whatever he wants to say before we let him go.
Yeah. So again, guys, you can check out the Devil State of Mind podcast. New episodes out every Monday and Thursday. I'll have an episode out tomorrow, kind of recapping the first half of the season for the Devils. You can check it out wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, just drop a 5-star rating. It goes a long way. Also give a 5-star rating to these boys right here. These guys are just absolutely tremendous. These guys are great. Love interacting with them on so much different stuff, whether it involves the Devils or Rangers or not. It's all great. Follow us on Twitter at Devil State, also on Instagram at Devil State of Mind. And if for some reason you still have a Facebook, make sure to leave us a like on Facebook as well.
I don't have any of these things, by the way.
Actually, Coach, I assumed that you at least had a Facebook. I was going to say, I feel like you have a Facebook. And also, guys, just keep up the great content. I definitely watch all the time. I love the vlogs with Coach Ed going to the Rangers game. Those are always a blast. I enjoy watching that. And definitely, it has been a fun year in terms of the games played in this year's Hudson River Rivalry. And that last one, which is now, I think, about 2 months away, now that I think about it, it's certainly a long time from now. Going to be a lot of fun. And we'll see. We'll see if both teams, if the hockey gods want to just be funny about it, maybe we'll see each other in the playoffs down the road. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I want to thank you, Neil, because we have good fortune with our Islander rival group. And you stepped right in, and you're very real about what your opinions are on the Rangers as well and the Devils. So it's nice to see.
Yeah,
thank you. I
appreciate
appreciate
it.
Neil.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Really appreciate it, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, man. So check out Neil's podcast, Devil's State of Mind, if you want to listen to some Devil's information for whatever reason. But check him out on social media too. He posts good content, and he's always a fun guest to have
There's
on.
no way he has like a co-host because they wouldn't be able to talk.
He could chat, man. He could chat. Yeah, definitely. No, guys.
No, Eddie, you've been quiet for too long.
I've been trying to get a word in, man. Yeah, his social media. I know he gave us a lot of props on our social media, our Instagram, but I get a lot of ideas from him, and I'm sure he gets some ideas from me. So yeah, we definitely have a good relationship in that aspect. So shout out to Neil. Like I said, it's hard to be mad at him. It's hard to have any kind of a rivalry with him because, I mean, if you guys see on YouTube, he's just the happiest kid in the world. So good for him. And yeah, forget about the Devils.
Yeah.
Go Rangers.
Let's put that last game in the past.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the banter, I wanted to bring up one other point. So, Coach, I don't know if you noticed this, but you remember the game against the Lightning in overtime? The Rangers had a 4-on-3 power play, didn't score, ended up losing in a shootout. Game last night, 4-on-3 power play, they don't score, they win in a shootout. But you know, 4-on-3 power play with this talent, it's got to score, right? I mean, it's two times.
That's frustrating to me.
So you know,
I was going nuts. I was texting Eddie the whole time. It was just
we were. You know, one of the things that bothers me about it is that you got 4 right-handed shooters on a 4-on-3. It's a different setup. You know, I understand having all the righties on the regular power play where you have a bumper position and you know the half wall and the guy in front. I get it. Especially with Panarin and Fox distributing. I don't really like it, but I understand it, like conceptually. 4-on-3 though is literally like a diamond with guys moving around the ice. I get it; they're rotating positions, but it's really a diamond of trying to move the puck and find an open man, open space. Why wouldn't you have a left-handed shooter on the right side on 4-on-3?
My problem with what was going on, I didn't even notice that. To be honest with you, I get it. I agree with you.
I'm shocked you didn't notice that.
I agree with you. My problem is, all I saw them. First of all, they call a timeout. Minnesota called a timeout. They didn't even go to the bench to discuss with the coaches what we're doing, what we should be doing, what's going on. They talked amongst themselves, clearly on the television. Second, they were all standing still, just waiting to try to get it to Zibanejad on a one-timer. That one guy down on the crease.
That's what I mean, though.
All he had to do was like back out a little into the high slot at the right time, and he's got to tap in. That's what I mean. They weren't moving at all.
That's what I mean. Yeah. You see a guy like Kakko or Hedel improve a lot coming into this year from previous seasons on their shooting ability. You know, I mean, Hedel's sniping, Kakko's sniping. He's getting robbed too, but he's sniping. He's doing that one-timer coming in from the right wing. Why not put one of those guys on the right side on a 4-on-3? If it's a 4-on-3, you know,
especially Kakko,
because it gives a threat. The threat of it is what pulls that defender. You want to talk about Kreider being kind of like a decoy for defenders a little bit, dragging guys in. You got Kakko there waiting like this with his stick up. It's kind of hard to cheat to Zibanejad because you don't know which way.
You have to have another option, even if ultimately you're not going with that option B. You have to have, like you said, the threat. And Kakko's been playing so well, confident with the puck. I mean, almost to a fault where he's like holding on to it for too long. So on the power play,
who are you going to take off then?
I would take off Trocheck.
On a 4-on-3, for sure, I take Trocheck.
Oh, Trocheck!
I love Trocheck.
Well, he's out there for the face-off reliability, I guess.
That's true, but if that's the case, he could. I think the Rangers bench. Was the Rangers bench right there? I'm not sure.
It's opposite.
Hey, I mean, they could survive 3-on-3 for a second and send somebody out.
Yeah, do a Fogo.
Whatever it is, I mean, they got to have at least one lefty out there. To have 4 righties on the ice for a 4-on-3 power play, it's stupid.
Or Zibanejad can just win a goddamn face-off. You know, I mean,
he's been doing well with the face-off.
They had possession. It wasn't really just the face-offs. They had the possession, which was frustrating me because they only had that one option. With all righties on the ice, you only have one option: either the shot from the point or the shot from the left side. That's it.
Yeah. So that leads to one other point. Before we move on, the Kreider injury, he's out. So we got a hole on the power play 1 now, at least for one game, because I read he's out at least until the 15th. So they're going to play it, you know, day to day, which with Gallant could be months. I mean, we have no idea. But who takes that spot and what do you do with the positioning, right? Because Kreider's the net front guy. So you can put Kakko in that spot. Honestly, I would consider putting Trocheck as the net front guy.
Right.
I would think about doing that because he's had success in that role with Carolina. And then you move
I know what coach
Panarin
is gonna. I know what you're gonna say.
move Panarin into the bumper, and then Kakko or Hedel on the right wing. I don't care which one, but one of those two on the right half boards. Go ahead, coach. You're gonna put.
What are
Sammy
you going to
Blais
say? What am I going to say?
You're gonna
Put
put Sammy
Keandre in
Blais
front of the net.
Bingo.
Oh, that would be.
I
that would
knew
be a
it.
brilliant-
I knew it.
But that would be
Keandre
brilliant.
First
I'm
of
Further
all,
okay
than
with
first
that.
of all, that the play I'm talking about.
That's a great idea.
Who are we
That's a
watching
great
when I
idea.
said that he had the long reach on the goal line, waiting for that pass? He would be like ideal down low on the goal line, taking that pass lefty, either going cross crease or into the high slot or screening the goalie. And he's got offensive talent. We've heard it all the time.
Because he used to play forward till he was 16.
Right. And it's true. He's got an offensive mind. He knows how to play forward. I'm sure as a kid he was on the power play constantly.
And
You know.
he's a defenseman, so he knows how to cheat on the power play, where the
Right.
defenseman's not allowed to guard him or cover him or battle him. He knows how to battle in front if he has to. And I talked about it last episode. His hand-eye coordination is out of control. Imagine Fox feathering him a nice shot or a wrist shot or a little pass or whatever right to his stick and him patting it in wherever he wants to. Oh, shout out to me, by the way, in our roller hockey game. I got a nice little Kreider deflection from Skank.
Nice.
It was perfect. It was great. I was behind the defenseman, like screening the goalie, and then at the last second, I peeled off.
Did
and
you
got
say
the-
shout out
got
to
the-
me and then
Yep.
give yourself
Yeah, absolutely.
and then brag?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
But
All right.
I think
No,
Keandre's
but yeah, I
the big
think-
body, the big body.
Yeah.
I think he'd be better on the power play down low than he would be at the point.
All right, little Ed. Last
I
word
agree.
on this power play. Who are you gonna put? Actually, we got Mikey too. Who are you putting on the power play in Kreider's place?
I hope Laffy gets some either Laffy or Kakko. I mean, you got to put one of them on there. You got to give him, like Neil was just saying, an opportunity or position to succeed a little bit. And
Give
they
Laffy some
both have-
confidence, man. Let's go.
They both have great left-handed shots, especially
they're
Laffy.
both-
He could fire that wrist shot from the right side.
They're both on the second unit, right? So I'm going to say, but Kakko's been playing the point.
Yeah,
on
but the second unit goes out for what, 30 seconds?
No,
Like,
I'm saying
know.
so they're both in
Not
line to
even.
move up. They're both in line to possibly move into the first unit. My
So any of those
Right.
four guys,
They have some experience.
Kraftsov, Hedel, Laffy, and Kakko.
forget
is that-
Kraftsov. Stop, please.
Kraftsov's a
Please.
stud, man.
Either Laffy or
Please.
Kakko.
Let's not say a start. Stop.
He's gonna be good. He's gonna be really good. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's either Laffy or Kakko. Those are the only two options. Or
For
best
me,
options, I
it's
would say.
Kakko or Hedel. I don't think Laffy. I think Hedel or Kakko should get that spot. They this year have demonstrated the two best shots from the left-handed shooters that we have.
I would say Kakko more because he's been scoring from that off wing, what, 3
Yeah.
times at least?
And he's
Yeah,
got
I
the
would put
confidence with the puck.
Kakko if I had a choice, but Hedel would be second and Laffy 3. But we'll see what they do. It's going to be interesting. We know Laffy's up with Kreider and with Zibanejad and Kakko, right, Ed? You saw that you sent that earlier, I think.
Yeah,
the practice
at
lines,
least the
right?
practice lines. So we'll see what Gallant decides tomorrow. But I think it's going to work out. I think it's going to be good to see.
All right, let's move on into our broadcast banter.
It's a power play goal.
We're gonna lead off with Coach Ed. He's got a little banter for
He's already
us.
giggling over there.
First, he got it. I'm pretty sure it had to be last night because
Why are your headphones bent over your forehead?
I
like
have
that?
one. I don't know. I got one. It's
He's like this.
having both ears on is bothering me. So
Every-
first he goes. Shots on goal. Rangers 10 to Minnesota's 5, and then like 5 seconds later he goes, "Oh no, I'm sorry. The Rangers have 5. Minnesota has 10." It's on the scoreboard. Where is he not reading it right?
Oh
He's
my
also
God.
eye level with the scoreboard.
That's
so
what
it's
I'm
not like-
saying. I mean, all you got to do is look to the straight or
It's-
left or
so-
right.
So here's the thing: we keep doing this with banter. I'm guilty of it too, where it's like Sam making mistakes, but like at some point he's getting old. Like at some point, like this is like he's just old. So it's
Yeah,
like,
something's got to happen.
I mean, do you think he's gonna have to weave into like a 40 game schedule instead of 80, and they're gonna have to mix in like
They might do that eventually. Yeah, traveling could be getting to him. Hey, it's tiring traveling. It's
He's gonna be close to 80 years old now, right?
we looked it up. I thought he was like 74 or something.
Are they back
Mike-
to traveling? Because I thought they were
Mike, look
doing
that
the
up.
away games in the studio.
Oh, still? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I think
either.
they're traveling now.
They travel, yeah.
They are
They're
traveling now.
Yes.
This one's funny. It's not really him making a mistake. Against New Jersey, it was a 2-on-1, and he goes, "Here we go, 2-on-1." And Panarin, he hit the goaltender with the shot. It was just like, yeah, okay.
He hit the goaltender.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was just shocked because Panarin misses the net every time he shoots. So I mean,
Yeah, but when
And
you
then
guys, I
he
mean,
hit the goalie.
No, everybody says that.
Yeah.
Like I was talking, Rob was saying it to me yesterday. They missed the net so much. You got to remember, they're shooting for these fine spots. The goalies are taking up a lot of net, so it's a matter of 2 inches left or right that you're missing the net.
Okay.
You know,
Panarin
you got to
misses the
remember
net a
that.
lot.
There's
He
not,
misses
I
the
know,
net.
but there's not a big target.
The
It's
Rangers
not
in
like there's an
general.
open net and they're shooting it wide. They're going for this top corner that if
Yeah.
you're not on, it's just going wide. To us, it looks like they're missing the net by 5 feet.
Well,
But-
they're missing that. They've got to be up near the top of the league in missing. The
I'm
net.
not saying they're not missing the net a lot, but there's a fine line between shooting it 5 feet wide and missing the net by inches. It's hard, you know.
Add it
Yeah,
to the
Mike.
spread. Add it to the spreadsheet. Differential of shot attempts versus shots on goal.
Well, that includes posts too, though. So I'd have to then subtract posts
Yeah.
because posts aren't shots on goal.
So
Mike, what do you got?
I don't know if you guys caught this last night when Sam mixed up Zuccarello and Mika.
Multiple times.
He goes,
He was
Zuccarello
all
to
over
Fox.
How about the Goodrow thing?
Oh man, that was funny too.
Sam's 75 years old, by the way.
Sam,
Way to
he's
go,
getting old, man.
Mikey.
He's getting old. So, yeah, the Zuccarello thing. Also, just shout out to the crowd when Zook served the penalty in OT. They zooked. I was waiting for Sam to say those aren't boos, Joe.
Yeah.
But he didn't say it. He didn't say it. What else you guys got?
I got one. This one's for you, cause Joe was talking about Matt Boldy. That's his name, right, Matt?
Yeah, Matt Boldy.
He goes, he could really shoot it. You know, they're trying to get him to shoot it every chance he gets. His shot is that good. Every chance he gets.
Yeah. That's a good one.
That
Joe.
was
Good-
a
just had-
spreadsheet.
Great
just had the-
analysis, Joe.
I just
Yeah.
had the one when Fox scored. Sam goes, "It's been 14 games since his last goal." I mean, all right, he's a defenseman. It's not like he scores every other game. He could go
Yeah.
12, 14 games, but he made it like it was like he scores that often. I don't know. It seemed a little odd to
Yeah, it's funny. All right, so let's get out of banter.
me. Wait,
got-
one more. I have a
Okay.
little reverse banter.
Shout I
out-
should have known.
Shout out to Bobby, my buddy up in moved up to Maine. He doesn't get
Reverse
to
banter.
he doesn't get to watch the MSG broadcast. They got the NHL package. So all Ranger games, he hears the home announcer.
Oof.
So in Montreal, when Sam and Joe were sucking up to Marty St. Louis, saying how he's doing such a great job and they love him and this and that, Dave Poulin is the commentator on Montreal's broadcast. And he said, I heard their pregame. He goes, they were a little over enthusiastic about Marty. They're giving him a little too much credit. There's a lot of frustration going on up here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, Montreal fans are never happy, but
No, I know, but I'm just saying, he's like
that's
Sam and
funny.
Joe making like everything's honky dory. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure Marty's a great guy. I'm not saying
well,
that,
the players,
He had a nice suit on.
the players really like him, but obviously the fan base isn't too thrilled with how the team's doing.
but, right.
Yeah, but yeah, that's funny.
Oh man,
It's weird that he's watching like the MSG.
Right.
Pre-
Right. He goes, they're a little too over enthusiastic.
We agree. We agree.
Oh man. All right. So let's move on into a coach's corner for a quick little corner with Coach Ed.
All right, boys, bring it in.
Coach, you sent a quote from John Tortorella in the group chat. It was one of the few texts you sent in the last week. It's a screenshot from an article where Tortorella, I guess, benched Tony DeAngelo. And he says DeAngelo had 4 giveaways in 7 minutes in a 6-2 loss. He got benched D'Angelo quote, "It won't be the first time I have a bad game or get sad. I'm not going to get crazy into it." And players aren't here to question the coach. But Tortorella, D'Angelo is a highly talented player, and he takes the step. And I guess on that team, maybe even a veteran, takes a step to actually bench him. Barclay Goodrow against New Jersey turns the puck over on a lead breakaway pass to Jack Hughes. The Rangers are up 2-0. Hughes goes in and scores. Goodrow doesn't get benched. In fact, he ends up replacing Kravtsov on the Trocheck-Panarin line, and Kravtsov gets demoted for whatever reason, even though Goodrow made that mistake. They brought it up to Gallant after the game. He says, he made a mistake. Big deal. People make mistakes. Just trying to understand the different styles of coaching there, right? Because Tortorella probably would have benched Goodrow, right?
I don't know about that. I mean, take it into perspective. First of all, he had 4 giveaways. And we've talked about this before, where my opinion is in a game decision, I don't want to take it as, let's not say it is a benching, but it's not like I'm going to scream at you. It's just not your night. So if a coach recognizes that a player, it's not his night, and he's having frustration, sometimes you got to take a few shifts off and if it's in a close game, don't put him in that position to compound the mistakes even more. Goodrow's the type of player where we saw on Dave Maloney talked about it extensively on the pregame yesterday, that Goodrow's the type of player when the coach looks down the bench, and I get this feeling about some kids a lot myself, that's the guy you're going to go to in certain situations. Yes, he's going to make a mistake here and there. The puck's going to roll off his stick. In the middle of making a pass, he's going to be like, oh, crap, it's not open, but it's too late. But he's not going to compound mistakes all game. It's going to happen, but it's not going to take him out of his game, and he's a trustworthy player. So, I mean, yes.
What happens if Lafreniere makes that pass instead of Goodrow?
I don't know what happens. I mean, if he's having a good game and he makes one giveaway, I don't think he's going to bench him. If he sees that all game he's been off with his passing or his decisions, then he might sit him a couple of shifts. I don't follow it that closely. But as far as Goodrow, he's the go-to guy that doesn't happen often too, in my opinion, from what I watch. And he's the guy you want out there. I mean, you watched him against Minnesota when Greenway jumped Fox after that goal. Goodrow was the first guy to go in there and just punch his way in and say, bull crap, this isn't going to happen. And you're not going to bench a guy like that because he made the one giveaway in a bad timing, and you need him out there.
And the Rangers always have issues with Greenway.
Yes,
like every time the Rangers play Minnesota, we're always talking about him.
I thought I meant to text you guys before the game, but I didn't know if cousin Eddie was watching it on time. I was curious to see with Reeves and Greenway out there who was gonna battle them.
Trouba.
I know Trouba, but he's not out there all the time.
Reeves made a comment to the media saying, "I don't know. I guess they would have to do a 2-on-1 because I don't think something like that. Anything else would be a challenge or something."
I mean, I could see Goodrow going at him and taking the beating for the hell of it.
Yeah,
he's
got could that. Fight Reeves.
I think Schneider could give him a 1-2 real quick.
Yeah, he better get in there.
Trouba would lose probably, but he could stand up to him.
Yeah, Trouba would lose, but he's big enough to withhold it. To fight him.
To maybe get a one shot in, but really take a couple.
No, I understand Cousin Ed's point. I think Goudreau's a bad example because of the style of player he is. I mean, even I think the intermission of that game, Valaket said, like, you never see Goudreau make that play.
Right. It was just such a horrible, glaring error that it stands
it's
out,
just,
but it never happens.
So he literally never makes that play. It's not like, well, Panarin might be a bad example too, because Panarin never gets benched, but like, it's not like Panarin's trying to make that pass 10 times a game. Goudreau's never trying to make that play. Who knows why he even did it? I mean, sometimes the play looks like it's there and it's not, but
right. He has a mental lapse and all of a sudden uses in the lane. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then it's something like that. It's never going to happen again. It's like, it's just not. And so I do understand what you're saying. I was thinking like a player like Panarin or Goudreau or Kreider. I mean, I've said it before in other episodes. There's more of a likelihood of them recovering from that mistake and doing something towards the end of the game that's going to change the outcome of the game. Like Panarin's going to make a turnover, but then the next shift he's going to come out and maybe score a goal. You can't bench him. You know,
Yeah.
like
Did you guys? Speaking of that, did you see the shift? I texted
Laffy
you.
doesn't have that ability yet.
Coach, did you see the shift at the end of the second period? It was
Which
Crafts, Minnesota game. Kraftsov is like 20 seconds left. This all happened in like 20 seconds. Kraftsov rushes down the ice with the puck. Kaprizov steals it like just inside the blue line. He heads in the other direction, breaks into the Rangers zone over the blue line. Panarin steals it, heads in the other direction, and turns it over. And then the period ended. And I was just like, three Russian players, three straight turnovers. Yeah. And they asked Panarin after the game. I don't know if you saw that either. They asked him about all the Russians in the game, and he was like, I like that kind of a style better. It's more Russian style. Turk doesn't like it, though.
No, he said, no, he asked him more wide open style, you said, not Russian style, wide open style.
Yeah, whatever.
I mean,
they're not going to say Russian style, the media. I'm saying.
I thought Panarin said Russian. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Panarin did. I'm saying they didn't ask him,
right.
Like, what do you think about the Russian style?
Right.
I mean, even when you're talking about the, like we keep bantering about Hedel back and forth. Yeah, he's playing very well, but he's not, in my opinion, he's either got to be a second line center or Trocheck's got to go to the third line like they had it for a while, because that third and fourth line has to be more trustworthy defensively. And you could give me all the analytics about his defensive percentage or percentile, all that bull crap. But when I watch with the eye test, he's missing so many plays in the defensive zone that in a playoff situation, as a third and fourth line center, you can't be making those mistakes. You can get away with it when you're playing run and gun. If you're with Panarin and Kakko or Panarin and Laffy, yeah, that's the style. But that's where Turk doesn't like it. And that's where a guy like Brindamore, these high-level playoff teams, the Bruins, they don't have that. They don't have those small defensive lapses out of those guys you could trust in those situations. So that's when I'm arguing with you, bantering back and forth. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, maybe he is a second line center. Maybe they should switch it back.
How did we get into Hedel?
Because we're talking about benching and the young kids and what you would do and putting them in the right situation.
I just don't think
it might not be a bad idea to switch them and have Hedel with Panarin, more offensive style. And then because we were talking about that, how Trocheck's plus minus is struggling severely because of Panarin, and you might be better off just having like a very offensive second line and then having the third line a little bit more defensive structure.
Yeah, I really liked it when he had Laffy with Zibby and Kakko, and he had Panarin with Kraftsov and Hedel, and then he had Kreider with Trocheck and Vesey, and that was like a shutdown line. I like that. It's a north-south line. It's one line to go out there. It's very north-south. They all play a similar game, and then they have the fireworks on. You just don't put Panarin, Hedel, and Kraftsov out if you're up one with 3 or 4 minutes.
You put your trustworthy, put your trustworthy defensive mind along.
Or you swap Gaudreau up at that point, right? Then you take Kraftsov and you say, all right, I'm going to play Gaudreau at the end.
Certain points of the game, you switch it up, and when you have to in the right situation.
Yeah, I would much rather.
Well and good. I mean, again, like Neil was saying, put these guys in a
disagree with you on
position
Hedel, for the record.
You could disagree with me all you want. Like I said,
I think what we should do.
We'll sit there and watch a game together, and I'll pause it. And I'll show you what I'm talking about.
Well, I don't get the benefit of doing that with you. However, I do think in the next maybe few games, in a game where you're able to, and you're sitting down and you're not like at a bar or whatever, if you see a play by Hedel that you want to point out, pause it, rewind, record it on your phone, and text it into the chat so I can see it.
I will do that.
Yeah, and I'll do the same. I'll try it, see if I can find it. But I see Hedel situationally, defensively.
I have a feeling Coach Ed's gonna find it pretty easily.
No, but you know what I was saying.
Now we're gonna get like 35 videos a game.
I was saying it in the chat though you could easily cherry pick a play by almost any player and be like, see, he sucks.
Of course, everyone makes mistakes.
Hedel, of course, misses assignments. I'm not acting like he doesn't. He's not Patrice Bergeron, but I think he's been more than adequate defensively. More than adequate. He's been fine. I agree he's better suited for that second line role, though. And Trocheck is more suited for a defensive role, I think. But anyway, I don't know why you had to throw in the Hedel banter.
Well, because it's a point about coaching. It's a coaching decision. based
don't
on
like
who's
the
playing and who's
decision.
getting you. You're saying that you want to not bench a guy, and I'm saying there should be different situations where it's not really a benching. It's just like we have someone that we trust in this role better, and each player, if you're going to be a team, has to understand that.
No,
And
but
when
you're
you accept
benching
that,
with a purpose, like at the NHL level. I mean, you know, when I would play, if I would make mistakes, right? Let's say like when I played juniors, I was a sixth defenseman. So the coach would sit me. That's not a benching. That's trying to win the game at the end of the game or whatever. He's playing his
Right.
top two pairs. I don't consider that necessarily a benching.
No, it's not.
It's rolling your best guys to close a game out or something. But like if let's say I turn the puck over, it leads to a goal in the first period, and then he's sitting me the rest of the game, and I'm sitting on the bench. That's a benching, and it's with a purpose, right? It's to teach me not to make that mistake again. So in the NHL level, I see that with these young guys all the time. They bench them for long stretches, or they demote them to the fourth line, healthy scratch them, and I don't think it sends a good message, because I think it just it deflates their confidence. Kids these days are a lot different than old school hockey players. They're just different. They're not built for that. They're built to be propped up and positive reinforcement, and you have to handle it differently. I don't think it's a good way to do it. You bury a kid like Laffy, he's clearly going through a confidence thing. That scratch, he's saying the right things, but he doesn't look confident out there at all. He has zero confidence, zero. So now they're going to thrust him into a first line role. If he falls flat on his face, everyone's going to say he's a bust, but he's got no confidence. You got to leave him there. Let him play 10 games in that spot. 10 games. Just leave him there. So that's my thing. That's why I have an issue with that style of coaching. If you're not going to bench Panarin or Gaudreau,
can you
for
afford
those
to
same
do
mistakes?
that? Can you afford to go for 10 games in a year when you're trying to go for it?
Yeah, I mean that was an arbitrary number. So
I understand whatever it is. You can't afford you can't afford those mistakes. Not a mistake. You can't afford that gamble and development. I get it. I understand what you're saying. And again, like Neil was saying, the Devils were in a position where they could do that with Hughes. They could just throw him out there because they weren't winning 25 games. So let him learn, let him do it, let him make the mistakes, let him score, let him skate. And now it's paying off somewhat with the team coming together with all the young guys. But the Rangers were in a different situation, and they still are, where they're a step away of possibly taking it. So you can't say, let's try Kakko with this line for 10 games. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Yeah, in the meantime, they might lose 5 of those games because it didn't work. And now you're 5 games in a hole.
At some time, you got to either do it or get off the pot, right? I mean,
that's the way, that's the coach's decision. And like we keep talking about, I'm hoping that they have those meetings where the head coach is with Drury and they're talking about it. I think they do. I can't see Drury just sitting in the back and going, Turk, you got all the decisions. It's going to be with the salary cap era. They have to have these meetings because they got to know who can go in and out of the lineup.
The last thing I'll say before we go into the stars of the week on this, because we got to wrap it up. I'm getting pushed by our producer here to wrap this segment. So we got one thing of note. Lafreniere is struggling this year, right? Points wise, whatever. He's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. So if he broke out this year with a 50, 60 point year, might put the Rangers in a little more of a cap crunch. So maybe they lock him up and then he breaks out next year, right? So there's a reason. There's a lot more going on behind the scenes than I'm not saying they're intentionally limiting his opportunities, but I don't think it necessarily hurts the Rangers if he takes another season to fully break out.
Well, that happened with Hughes, right? I mean, he's not going to get Hughes money, but
no, he's not going to get Hughes money.
Hughes, they waited on it.
You got 8 by 8.5 or whatever. But all right, let's move on. Enough on Hedel, Laffy, and Kakko because coach is going to yell at me. So stars of the week. He's going to start criticizing me now, and I can't take it. So, all right, offensive player.
I got to coddle you like they got to coddle Lafreniere. You're 36 years old.
That's hilarious. All right, offensive player of the week. Let's go to Little Ed. This is a little tough. I mean, we got the usual suspects a little further down the list here.
I don't think it's tough. I'm going with Foxy. I think he's responsible for a lot of the offense, if not all of the offense in these games. I mean, he's involved in the power play, obviously. I mean, he's rushing the puck a lot. He's taking a lot of shots from the point. He's finding people down low for little deflections and things of that nature. So, I mean, I'm kind of giving up on looking for his defensive abilities and kind of just accepting for him who he is. And he's just phenomenal. I mean, I said it on Hockey Night in New York. I picked him as my all-star snub.
Any other Ranger or two that you'd say deserves a shot in there? Who is it?
And I'll go with Adam Fox without a doubt. He's another guy. He kind of had a slow start along with the rest of the Rangers, but he's right back up there in the Norris conversation lately. I don't know the exact stats, but he's putting up at least a point per game. I want to say the last like 15, 20 games. So he's just lights out. Just seeing that guy play live. If they're worried about the fans and they want to put the best guys or the most skilled guys in the All-Star game, the skills competition, you got to put a guy like Adam Fox in there. Things he does with the puck, it's just it's crazy.
And I think too,
seeing him live against Carolina when Coach Ed and I were there, I kept saying it, like just seeing him with the puck, it's just
he's having
ridiculous.
a Norris quality season for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely stepped it up. He was off to a slow start. I said that on Hockey Night as well. And
I got a little Weeksy Norris moment if you want me to interject later, but go ahead.
Ed Fox is 97th percentile defensively in the NHL. So,
well, hey, I mean, maybe it's mostly just the penalty kill that I'm kind of harping on because I can't stand him on the penalty kill. But either way,
we just want him off the PK. Save him. Him.
If offensive ability, if the NHL wants the best players in the All-Star game, the most flashy players, talented, skilled, whatever you want to call it, Fox has to be in it every year.
He'll be in it. He'll make it. I picked him too. Same reasons. He that game against Minnesota, he dominated. That was a Norris Trophy level game. I mean, he literally willed them to victory. Mike, what about you?
3 for 3. Adam Fox.
Coach?
Let's sew it up.
All right, Foxy. So we picked the defenseman for offensive player of the week. Did any of you go with a forward for defensive player of the week?
I got a little surprise for my defensive.
All right, so we're gonna go to you. I like surprises.
Yeah, go first.
But I'm impatient.
I think this person deserved it. I'm giving it to Halak for that game he played. I know he was struggling all year. I think he's starting to find himself, and I wanted to give him some love.
Yeah,
Halak.
I mean, it's tough. He was a backup goal. He played one game, made 17 saves, but I like it. He played really. I thought he was better than the just 18 shots. Like, no, he made some really good saves in that game. I thought he was really good. So I like it. Little Ed.
My defensive player, I went with Schneider. I think he's just
my man
awesome. He's just playing awesome, man. He's just a defensive defenseman.
He's a hard-nosed defenseman.
What was that stat you guys posted? You sent it. It was on MSG.
He went
20 games in a row, 0 or better.
Yeah, I posted on Instagram as well. It was 20 games, I believe, or 22 games even or better. So I know that's not the whole season, obviously, but
that streak ended. That streak ended because he's -1 in these 3 games. So
he had a little bit of a rough game last night, but was that a hip check he did on Boldy or a hold at the end? Did you see that?
Check.
Was it? I wanted to. I was looking for it on the internet today. I couldn't find it.
No, look. Well, they called it a hip check. At least I didn't replay.
I know they did.
Oh,
but
that was beautiful yesterday.
Was it hip check?
Oh,
it looked like one. It looked like
I thought he kind of held it. I want to watch that again. I got to look on the game.
Maybe you're right.
It was a hip check. It was beautiful.
Yeah?
They called it a hip check, and it looked like one, but I don't know. I didn't go back and scrutinize it.
They didn't call a penalty, so it was right there.
But what do you? Speaking of Schneider, I didn't pick him, but Little Ed, since you picked him, what do you think of the putting Schneider on D in overtime over Trouba? They haven't done that. They did it last night. But usually it's Trouba, Miller, and Fox out on D, but they had Schneider out.
He can move a lot better than Trouba without a doubt. He can skate so much better. He's so much faster on the overtime or on the 3-on-3. I mean, Trouba's kind of like an anchor back there. He's kind of like just a big body. He can make the passes, but Schneider's all over the ice.
Yeah,
Trouba doesn't skate like Schneider.
I think Trouba. I think he appeared. I think Trouba appeared in OT, but if I remember correctly. But Schneider got a more prominent role, and I love Schneider in OT. That's a great move. He could shoot the puck. He scores. I don't know. I think it's a great move.
He makes the heady play in open ice too. He finds the spot to be open for a pass a lot when he gets the chance.
Yeah.
I just pulled a Micheletti. I do. It's because I make fun of him so much that
you're turning into him.
I'm turning into him. All right, I went with Keandre. I think the guy's just an absolute monster, and He's bigger than everyone. He's faster than everyone. He's got just as much skill as anyone out there. And when he gets going, he's a train, man. So I picked him. Coach, what about you?
I got Key also because I just thought that he's, like you said, all over the ice. I mean, that goal was phenomenal. He's just, they're not beating him. They're not beating him. He made a couple of good plays on Kaprizov, I noticed.
Yeah, I mean, just think about the Fox, Lindgren, Miller, Trouba pairs. If it stays Miller, Trouba, because it's been flipped with Schneider a little bit, but let's say it's whatever, Miller, anyone in the playoffs. The Rangers for about 45 minutes a game, maybe 50, will have one of Fox or Miller on the ice at all times. I mean, that's huge. If Miller keeps playing like this, that's huge. That's two very, like, an elite and a second tier defense level player out there at all times.
And he's waking up offensively. What's he got now? 4. He's 11 away. He's got 40 games to get 11 for my prediction.
He could. I mean, he could.
He definitely could.
That's why you want to put him on
the power play.
Yes. That's why.
Wait, but if he scores on the power play up front, that doesn't count as scoring as a defenseman.
That's
true.
It's true. It is true. Oh, we should have asked Neil if Brendan Smith has been playing forward. I meant to ask him that. All right, let's go to the highlight.
God, did you guys hear Sam talking about how the Rangers defense is second in the league in score?
Yeah. Jesus, Coach, what the hell was that?
Oh my God, every time.
Close to the mic.
I had to itch my ankle. Jesus,
all right,
give me a break.
Highlight play of the week. I got the Keandre breakaway. A good segue from Coach mentioning it.
Yep, same.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's like Valley said, every goal he gets is a highlight goal so far.
Mike?
I gave it to Kreider's shorty against the Canadians.
That was a nice one too, for sure.
You know, I had initially the Lindgren pass to Hedel on Hedel's goal against Montreal. I was like, that's gonna be the highlight. Coach is gonna love it because it was like this little subtle pass. It was like a small.
It was
play.
beautiful. That was a good one too.
But then Miller's goal, I was like, dude, no, like.
I mean, but come on, they could have called 2 penalties on that play. How the ref's arm wasn't up, I don't know. The guy hooked him from this side, and the other guy slashed him on the wrist on the other side. He fought it off and puts it top shelf, short side.
Oh man.
That was I had honorable mention VC's goal against New Jersey, and then also only because it was right after VC signed the contract. I think I wrote it down, so it was just like an honorable mention thing. And then Mika had a broken stick on the penalty kill against New Jersey, and he like dove and like threw the puck down the ice with his hand, and it was like kind of a big moment in the game. If the Devils scored in that penalty kill, probably would have been over.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good plays too. Little things like that, it's always fun to pick them. But when you get a highlight reel goal like Keandre, it's you gotta pick that. So
I had those 2 written down, and then I crossed them out, and I wrote Keandre's goal.
Another segue set up for me, at least accidentally. Jesper Foss Key Contributor Award. Let's move to that. I picked VC. VC a goal and 2 assists in these games, and if you look at what he's doing and how it's translating, not just with the eye test, which he's passing, obviously. But you look at the numbers, look at his giveaways and takeaways, right, Coach? Like, I put this on here for you so you can look at it. He's got 21 takeaways and only 13 giveaways this season, which show he's taking the puck away from people 8 more times and he's giving it up on a turnover. That's a huge benefit from a third liner.
Not only that, but go to the highlight play. He's the one who started it.
The poke to Keandre.
Yeah.
The assist, yep.
That was one of the takeaways right
the
there.
one.
I mean, he's turning into another trustworthy player by Gallant in certain situations, and he earned it, and he's gonna get it.
Yeah, that bottom 6, $800K for this year and 2 more is really, if he plays like this, he really did a good job reinventing himself as a quality NHL player. I got to admit, last time around,
I hope he stays.
I didn't really like him.
I hope he stays like that. I hope he continues to do it because he's a good kid and he deserves it.
Yeah, he's worked hard clearly to find an identity in the league, and he's found one. All right, Coach, who'd you take?
VC.
Oh, good. Little Ed.
Samesies. He signed the contract and then had a point per game, plus all the defensive plays he made and penalty kill, everything.
Mike?
I'm going to break it. I gave it to Miller because Miller definitely deserves some love. He's been contributing.
That's because That's because you gave Halak the defensive player of the week.
I said it
You didn't
last
get your
week.
highlight? Who got your highlight?
Kreider.
Yeah,
Oh,
Carter
right,
Shorty.
right.
But yeah, I said it last episode with the New Year's resolution that I wanted Miller more involved, and he heard me and he's doing it.
That's the first thing I thought of when he scored that goal last night. Being more selfish with the puck.
Well, I think he's selfish at the right times. I don't think he's selfish. I think he's doing it at the right time. He's making the right pass. He's definitely maturing. I thought he would start off like this, but
he could skate, man. He's like a Clydesdale out there. I think Cousin Ed said that one time.
Yeah, he's a thoroughbred, man.
no, Clydesdale's slow and
No,
clanky.
he's a thoroughbred. I said.
Oh, I have. I gotta send it to you guys. I found someone posted today like all 4 of his highlight reel goals from this year. Just like,
I wonder if someone's already put together a Filipino highlight reel of defensive errors on YouTube.
would be
It'd be about 2 hours long. It'd be
longer than this episode.
It'd be a 2-disc set.
It'd be longer than this episode.
It'd be like Gretzky's goal set.
Let's move on to Coach Ed's Doghouse Award. Last week, Coach Ed had Vitaly Kravtsov for no reason in the doghouse. Is Kravtsov out of the doghouse?
He played well in the 2 games that I really paid attention. I'm going to take him out of the doghouse. I didn't see any. He was playing. I thought he played well in the defensive zone as well. I didn't see him jump in the blue line as much or at all, really noticeably. And I think he's getting a little better every game. So I'm going to give it. I'm taking him out. I'm not putting anybody in this week.
Okay. Wow, Coach Ed with an empty for 2 out of the last 3 weeks.
The only thing I'll put in the doghouse is that 4-on-3 power play unit because that was ridiculous. But...
All right, so we'll put the 4-on-3 power play unit or empty. What are we doing?
Yeah, put the 4-on-3 power play. That's doghouse material. That's brutal. That was brutal. They didn't even get like a bona fide scoring chance at a 4-on-3.
They didn't get a shot. They didn't even get a shot.
Bad.
A full 2 minutes. It was,
All right, not individually, but as a unit, they're in. All right, Little Ed. Last week you had Alexis Lafreniere in the doghouse. Is he out of the doghouse?
Nah, I'm leaving him in. And I guess I wasn't gonna do it, but now I gotta put the 4-on-3 power play in there as well. No, I'll put. I mean, I don't know who's responsible for the power play coach, but whoever that is, let's just say that the power play coach.
Do you think they actually practice that though? You think there's enough time to practice that?
Well, I think usually
Kreider's
out there, but he was hurt, so Trocheck kind of went out. I think that's how it works. But
I'm wondering, like, is there enough time? I'm sure they practice 3-on-3 overtime a little bit. Is there enough time to do a 5-on-3 power play, a 4? You know what I mean? Is it practiced enough? I wonder. They don't really practice that much.
They're good enough that you shouldn't have to practice.
No, I get it,
5-on-3 power play.
Yeah, for real.
You would think that, but they have
move around with the puck and find open guys and shoot. It's not that hard.
Pass it to the open man.
Yeah.
Anyway,
way too much standing still.
All right, Mikey. Last week you had Alexis Lafreniere in the doghouse. Is he in the doghouse still?
Fortunately, he did not show me enough to get out, so he is still in.
Mikey.
Anybody else joining?
A little hard nosed.
Yeah, a little hard nosed. He's got to learn. Laffy by himself this week.
All right.
He got a nice apple against the Devils. And he's getting promoted to the first line. Jeez, what's the kid got to do?
We'll see what happens
coming
next
from Coach Ed.
Yeah.
So anyway, last week I had Lafreniere and Heedle in. Heedle's out. 3 goals in these games, including a snipe.
I just like that missed one-timer at the end of the game last night.
You mean the poke that tied the game? You mean the goal that tied the game to go to overtime?
The missed one-timer from the high side in the same sequence. But he did. I got to give him credit because he missed that and he didn't pout and he still got involved and got that goal. How long was it going to take for Micheletti to say that Heedle got the goal?
Well, I couldn't tell at first either, in fairness.
Oh, after watching the replay 3 times, though?
No, the replay.
I think it's going to go to Fox. He kept saying.
Yeah.
No, I
said it
didn't see-
immediately because I saw Heedle dive for
Yeah,
it.
and he
Well, I did
celebrated like
see-
he got it.
I did see that, but it did
Right.
look like it hit Dumba, kicked it in on the first replay. But when they showed the other view, it was clearly Heedle's stick that pushed it in.
Yeah. And he'd also like jumped up right away, did his little
Right.
fist pump celebration and everything.
Right.
So
Yeah. So Heedle's out, but I'm gonna agree with Eddie and Mike. I'm leaving Laffy in. And I'm gonna agree with you, Coach, on the 4-on-3 power play. I like that. I'm gonna put the whole unit in. Next time, I mean, they might not get a 4. The problem is they might not get a 4-on-3 power
is it.
play again till the
I
end
know
of
it
the season.
doesn't happen often enough for them to practice it. You know what I'm saying?
So
like
for
you
that,
said, they
so for
should
that
know-
reason, I'm out.
Yeah. But like you said, these guys are all skilled players. They should be able to. You wouldn't see Patrick Kane standing still on that power play. You know what I mean? They move around, they cycle, they move, and someone's got to be open.
Just hit the net, shoot and hit the net, dude. Crash the net, hit the net, move around. Like
I don't know.
I
do
don't know.
something else and stand there looking.
they
at
were
each
able
other.
to the Minnesota Wild, whoever was killing that 4-on-3, they were just able to stay in the triangle, and that was it.
Yeah.
Like Coach said before, like the one guy down low just kept going, like taking one step up, one step back, one step up, just to prevent that Mika one-timer. Yeah, it was ugly.
All right, so Laffy's still in for me. I'm not putting the 4-on-3 unit in because I don't want to deal with taking them out in 6 months. But yeah, that was terrible. So let's we got a break from the Rangers Ed 150. Our boy Mikey P's on a little vacay, so he's got a little hiatus here. So if
Came
you
south
fans
of the border.
yeah, he came south of the border. So if you fans out there expecting that or waiting for that, you're gonna have to wait a week or two until
Wait,
Mikey
whoa.
joins us.
He's living a vacation up in Nova Scotia. He came home to reality.
His whole
Yeah,
life is a
sure.
fantasy
Yeah,
camp.
he's like Kramer.
Oh God. So let's jump right into the trivia. Mike, what do you got for us? Hit us.
I got a good one. I feel like the Rangers have gotten to a lot of shootouts lately, so I'm going with a shootout question. You guys ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
Which New York
Tammy
Ranger?
Panarin.
It better not be Panarin.
Which New York Ranger player has scored the most shootout goals ever for the New York Rangers?
I think I know this. It's not a 2-part question with how many goals.
No, but if you
don't even give him the idea.
Coach is looking at the TV, so Zibby he says. Okay.
Coach has got Zibanejad, Cousin Ed. It's got
Zucchi.
Zuccarello. Little Ed's got Zuccarello. Coach, you're the only one that didn't get it right.
Yeah.
Zucchi.
Because I saw yesterday he had a very high percentage. So
Look
I was
at-
like,
look
yeah,
at
I
Mike.
remember him scoring a lot of goals.
Look
So
at
did
Mike.
Zippy.
Yeah.
Look at Mike up in his game, though. He not only asked a trivia question that is, fairly difficult, but not too difficult. It's relevant to the recent games that are played by Minnesota against Zucchi with an ex-Ranger in the game. And the Rangers have been
And-
going to a lot of shootouts lately.
And
so look at
Zucchi
you,
scored
Mike.
a shootout goal last night.
And he did, yeah. So look at Mike. up in his-
Easily.
Shout out to
on
Mikey
Shesterkin.
Produces, huh? How
Yeah,
about
Mikey,
that?
shout out yourself like little Ed.
Yeah.
Shout out to me
Yeah.
for this
Shout
out
simple
to me.
question.
All right, so before we
that
end this
cousin Ed's
episode,
giving trivia credits.
Coach, just so you know, Mika's second. Okay.
all
Is
right,
he?
So I wasn't too far off.
Is he really second? Wow.
Yeah. Zucchi's got 25. Mika's got 15.
We got to before we
Wow,
sign
Panarin's
off.
got to be there. Panarin's
Got
got
to do my little Norris Trophy thing with Weeksy today. They're talking about Roman Yossi, about how he's so relevant to the Nashville's team. And last year he was on a 100-point pace, and Weeksy's comparing him to Carlson. He goes, not only is he getting the 100 points like Carlson, but he could play D.
Oh God.
No, he goes, he didn't say, but he could play D. He goes, but he defends. I was like,
Coach.
all right, Weeksy.
Coach, you're a tough critic, man.
All right, well,
But
there it goes.
all right, guys. Well, this is a good episode. A couple good games. Rangers ended on a high note. We'll be back next week to talk about the next 3 games. I think the Rangers got 3 on the schedule before we record, right? We got home against Dallas, where Nils Lundqvist and the Stars will head to the Garden. Then we got Montreal at home and at Columbus. So 3 winnable games. got to take 2 out of 3 at least. So we'll see if they can keep the hot streak going. We'll keep an eye on the injuries. See if this kid Lecision gets in. Hopefully, no more shootouts, so everyone doesn't have a heart attack. Shout out to Neil Villapiano for coming on. Thank you. Shout out to Tennessee Meg again for the cookies twice.
Way to go, Meg.
2 boxes.
That's why she gets our follow-up fan of the week, an honorary fan of the week there for this. Keep sending the cookies. You'll be the fan of the week every week. I mean,
I guess, yeah. It's kind of
very
cheating,
easy.
but
just
Yeah,
keep
it's
sending.
easy.
We all have a sweet tooth on this podcast.
yeah.
If
But
you
yeah,
can throw any gummy candy in there, that'll help, Meg.
Do me a favor, make my batch, like, just screw them up a little bit so I don't feel bad eating them, because I'm not gonna eat these.
I know. So, and also shout out to Hockey Night New York for having you guys on and giving us those tips. Hopefully we get that going and make Mikey Produci's job a little easier. And yeah, good. Everything's positive right now. A lot of good vibes. We got a little surprise too. We'll tease it. We invested in something. We don't want to say what it is. Don't spoil it. But we got a little something to bring out in a future episode coming up. It's gonna be
that thing.
It's gonna be interesting. Coach has no idea what we're talking about.
That's one of your little side text message groups.
Yeah, I'll send it in the chat.
Yeah, we don't want your phone to ding all day, so we got a side chat. But anyway, and shout out to Little Ed for doing like most of the hard work here. I just don't think you get enough credit, and getting the episodes out on time. You and Mikey do a great job. Appreciate it a lot.
Thank you.
A lot of love.
Yeah, we're hopefully I got some feelers out to some people with some interviews. We're gonna try and do a little bit more of that. Like I said, we got a lot of good tips from the boys over at Hockey Night in New York. So yeah, hopefully we got some good content coming for you guys. Coach Ed and I will be at the game. I guess you're hearing this tomorrow, so we'll be at the game tonight against Dallas. If you guys want to come find us or grab a drink or whatever, grab some food, we'll definitely meet up with you guys. We'll have some stickers with us, so if you want a free sticker, hit us up.
Yeah, you're not getting a free beer, but they'll give you a sticker.
Yeah. Well, Coach Ed will buy you a beer. Yeah, last thing we're gonna have. I know we always talk about the hats. We're gonna put the hats out on pre-order. So if anybody out there wants one of these nice Rangers Ed podcast snapbacks, I'm gonna send that out pretty soon for some pre-orders. And we got some nice sublimated shorts. Gonna leave those as a little surprise for now. But if you guys want to pre-order some Rangers Ed shorts,
we already got a bunch of orders
going
on the shorts ready.
Yeah.
We got a lot of orders already on that. We got to get that out. The fans are going to love those shorts, man.
Yeah. So when you
Coach
guys are ready,
Coach Ed's going to use it as a bathing suit, though.
If you guys want, send me a message on Instagram to get ahead of the game.
Are they tight shorts like in the 70s, or are they more like the 90s baggy shorts?
Whatever size you want to order.
All right, well,
7-inch inseam.
All right, boys, let's roll. Good episode. Love you guys. Let's go Rangers.
All right, have a good night, boys. Love you guys.
Keep it rolling.
Shout out to the fans, by the way. We didn't shout them out.
Always.
Thanks, guys.